Thursday morning in Reykjavik, and we're just on our way downstairs to our shore excursion. We're not actually meeting in the on the ship, but on the dock, which wouldn't be my first time. Oddly enough, on the last time I took a 4x4 excursion, I had to be down at the dock at, I think it was Morea. So, yep, we're gonna be doing that again. Anyway, keep an eye on us and wish us luck. We're gonna need it. This time around, I'm wearing a jacket because, quite honestly, it's gray and cloudy, which is more in line with what I expect. And we think it might be trying to rain. One of the problems with being raised to show up 15 minutes early at the very least is that the buses aren't here yet. And like I said, it is trying to rain. I can feel a spit or two. And so we're gonna head back to the main shelter here until such time as our buses are available. So we're not on a bus at all. I thought we might be taking a bus to get to where we were getting on the 4x4s, but I think this might be the 4x4 in question. We'll see. And just like from Heathrow and several other trips so far, we're literally in the back of the bus. It's starting to become a habit with us. It would seem that the 4x4 nature of this particular minibus is that it can go off-road. That's what the big deal is, because there are not much in the way of roads going up these mountains. So they've just connected the 4x4 feature, and we're about to head up on what looks like a gravel road, practically. Or maybe just dirt road. Yeah, this doesn't give a good view of it. But you can feel the bumping. Okay, I'll stop so you don't get motion sick. Alright. It's not exactly the 4x4 that I was expecting, but it's clearly the one that the situation requires. It is essentially a very sturdy and gainly minibus, but with the ability to traverse rocky ground like this, at angles like these, that even in that shape, it feels just a little bit, I won't say frightening, but when it tips at a 15-degree angle, you start to wonder if it's going to roll over. And especially at this height, it gets a little concerning. And meanwhile, it's also going up these angles that, from what I could tell, are probably about 20, 25, maybe even 30-degree inclines. And not a steady one either. But for all that, here we are with a impressive view of Reykjavik, overlooking the entire capital, including our ship. Daniel says we can probably pick out our room from here, but I think that would take a little bit more detail in this camera than I've got. But there it is. Take a look around and you can see pretty much everything. You look closely enough. Meanwhile, there's certainly more to Iceland than Reykjavik. And let's see if I can't get a good look around. There's our 4x4 that we've walked away from. I don't know if you can still hear me with the wind, because when we're at the top of the hill like this, it's blowing like crazy. And then we have the bigger mountains behind me now. Just gotta do a slow panorama of everything out here. And when I complained about not having much context, there really doesn't need to be any when we're out here. Now, I don't know glaciers or anything, and I'm sure you'd prefer to be there, but I'm going to put a little bit of you here as well. So, okay, you're heading toward Reykjavik. Good choice. Can't argue with that. But here you are. You can stay a little bit in Iceland as well. Well, unlike yesterday, like I said, it's gray, cloudy, and windy and trying desperately to rain. So not exactly comfortable to be out in as compared to that. Of course, part of it has to do with the fact that we're up in the high areas, so we're going to get more wind because we're exposed more. Still, wow, it's a challenge to make our way down. Almost as rough as trying to get up, which doesn't bode well for the ride down. You can't just let gravity take over. So having gotten our footage at this first stop overlooking Reykjavik, we're back at our 4x4, and I have to notice that there is a broadcast tower, although again, you probably can't see it. There is a building there, so you should be able to see that. You just have to wonder what kind of vehicle brought the materials for that up here, because this is as far as this 4x4 can go, and it's still beneath the hill over there. One other thing to point out, despite the fact that it's fairly obvious, is the road here is paved with, Daniel thought it was charcoal, but then I pointed out, and you probably could guess by now, this is just basically lava rock that makes up the road that leads here. It almost makes it look like asphalt if you don't look too closely, but it's definitely not nearly as smooth as all that. Well, this isn't so far up in the hills at the moment, but they are taking a pause, so I figure I might as well take a photograph of this little lake that we're around. And while I'm at it, once again, since this is more your kind of place to be, let's scatter a few more. Let's see if this actually winds up in the lake. There we go. All right, that's more for your liking, I should think. The one thing about Iceland is that you never run out of things to point your camera at, even if you don't know quite what you're pointing it at. I can't tell you whether the things behind me are geothermal plants or just straight up geysers. We were told that over in this direction is the lake that we normally visit on the Golden Circle tour, but this is the south end of that lake, whereas the Golden Circle goes by the north end. And I have to admit, I heard him say the name, but I think I'm going to get it wrong if I try to pronounce like Fingerhalsen or something like that. So I'll just say it wrong and let anybody correct me in the comments if they so dare. Meanwhile, Daniel's walked over to this communication outpost at the top of the hill, and I sometimes wonder if this was installed during World War II when the Allies made this place a base of operations. It certainly seems like the location is such that you could only reach it by a jeep back in those days. And even now, our 4x4 was struggling to get up here as well, although we did so at a greater speed than the last hill we went up on. These things are challenging. The inclines are like 20 and 25 degrees up. It's a struggle, and it's a little nerve-wracking sometimes to be riding in it. You assume the driver is experienced and trustworthy, but it's really something to go up without guidelines, and then you feel it list one way and the other, and it's something that you can't capture on the camera. The sensation of tilting either direction or even back. But I will say that the views certainly are worth it. Just a quick stop along the way. Us being commercialists, it's nice to see an actual store. Your guess is as good as mine as to how to pronounce this. I think it's Thrastalunder, but again, okay, in any event, it turns out to be a WC stop with grocery attached to it, but we did find a few sour apple things that can't get at home, so why not? Pick those up for Daniel and enjoy them on the way back or once we get to the cabin. No idea. I take that back. They have a full cafe restaurant here, but I don't think we have time to enjoy the place, so let's leave it at that. And now it's starting to come down. I am so glad we had good weather yesterday when we were wandering about, but today is not that day. A little bit more Icelandic weather than we expected, so not really objecting to it, but also glad to be getting back on the 4x4. We were told that was going to be a 20-minute stop. I don't think that was any 20 minutes.
I think we all just came back.
It seems we're taking another stop, which is odd because we just visited the WC and all that. But it seems that at this point, somewhere within this mini mole is supposedly a crack where the two tectonic plates from Europe and America come in. Haven't seen it yet, but we've seen a few maps here and so forth. And it turns out that what looks like a strip mall is actually enclosed, which, considering that there's a lot of winter to this place, seems to make sense now that I think about it. Okay, we think we found it. They've actually got it demarcated with some tiles saying where the line is between the two tectonic plates. So Daniel will illustrate by walking over to Europe while I'm staying here in North America. And he switches back. No passport needed. Cute. Interesting to find not a bookstore, but a library in this shopping center. But it is as much for the community as for tourists, after all. Probably more so. And it seems to have stopped raining, too. Interestingly enough, our tour guide uses the same thing that we say back at home, where if you don't like the weather, stick around for about 5 minutes and it'll change for you. Not sure what else to do for the next 15 minutes. Already been to one of these places and it wasn't all that much to see. Even the one thing that I thought of getting, some cocoa powder, well, I should say hot chocolate mix, is either not available or I don't know what the words are in Icelandic, so kind of stuck. Meanwhile, there's no point in having lunch when we're going to be going back to the ship in probably another hour, in which case we can stuff ourselves like we always do. So, you know, it just occurs to me that given the significance of having the continental tectonic plates in here, this might have been the same rest stop we hit on the way around the Golden Circle, but neither of us is exactly sure. You'd probably be able to confirm, but you know, that's how it is. Mishahan. And one last photo opportunity, as it so happens. We're in this trail of 1,000 waters, supposedly, where we've been crossing this little creek several times back and forth as we go. You can hardly see anything beyond that because, honestly, we are down at the point where the cloud is right on top of us. And oh my gosh, he is plowing right through the creek again. And I hope that he comes back and catches up with us. And he's disappeared. Oh, I hope he comes back. There he goes. All right, since we're by the river and in the middle of the clouds, what better place to put you? Now, you're already in the clouds. Why not a little bit more water? Here you go. Welcome to Iceland. Well, we made it back, and as it turns out, it's not just out there that's lousy weather. It's, wandering through puddles here too. So, yesterday was a good day. Today wasn't half bad. And now we make it home. And so we say goodbye to Reykjavik. Again, for the first time in 12 years. You can probably see the church behind me. Or possibly not, I'm not sure. It does seem to be hard to see both near and far. But there it is. It's easier when we're here. This is the best I can do from the camera's perspective. So we're on our way. Our next stop, believe it or not, is Greenland. It'll be interesting to see what that's like. Until then, take care and wish us luck. I'm sure we're still going to need it.